Hi everyone, welcome back to another bullet journal video. This one is for the month of June, and here I'm doing just the normal cover page I usually do. So with the little month at the bottom and the name of the month on top, and also a space so I can do some cover art. For this month I decided to do only a page for the monthly overview, because I thought it would look cuter and it would occupy less space, which is also good. So here I just decided to put some horizontal lines for the days of the month and also for the top of the table, which will hold the days of the week. And I'm just adding the numbers and then the name of the days. I also decided to put a study tracker like I usually do. I really liked the setup I did for the last 2 months, so I'm just doing it again, but this time with 6 hours instead of 4, and just adding the days on the left side there. I was also testing which color for the markers I wanted for this month. I knew I wanted a pink salmon color, I just didn't know which one, and I ended up testing it and I decided on this particular color, which I really enjoy. For the last 2 months, I actually did this page, which is a class tracker versus a study tracker, in which I put all the chapters I'm currently studying for different subjects, and then I put the date each chapter or topic on the chapter is done, and then I compare that to my study routine. So on the right side I actually put how much I have studied and which chapters I have studied and when I finished studying then. And I didn't change the setup because I thought it looked really nice. So I'm just repeating the same setup I did for the last 2 months, and that's basically it. I really enjoy this page. It turns out to be very colorful at the end, and it holds a lot of information, which is always good to compare at the end of the semester, because this year I wanted to track all of my studies because it's the first year I'm not doing anything outside of classes. So I wanted to see how much I actually could study and how my grades would change because of that. And I can say now that it really does change, and it changed quite a bit. I would say 20% difference from before. So it really improved a lot. Anyway, for this month I only put thermodynamics and fluid mechanics because for the month of May I actually put all the chapter for vibrations, so I didn't need to add this. Moving on, I actually did another type of meal tracker this month because I realized the setup I used to have didn't really work for me. I thought it wasn't cute and I didn't like the way it looked at the end, so I didn't actually use it. So to keep things organized and to make me feel like tracking my meals and actually planning them, I made a different setup which is much cleaner and much easier to use, and at the end it looks good too. So each day has 4 letters: B, L, S, and D, which stands for breakfast, lunch, snack, and dinner. So I can track all of my meals, and it just works better this way. Moving on to the next page, I also did a habit tracker like I usually do and a expense tracker. Even though I'm tracking my expenses on my phone, I would also like to have something on the bullet journal so I can look at it on a physical manner, and it also makes me have to look at my phone and look what I spent money on to put on the bullet journal every day. So it's just another way of making me more aware of what I am using my money for. Anyway, for the habit tracker, I actually didn't plan ahead of time. I did this on the top of my head. So I thought about changing the habit tracker again. And for this month, I decided that each little task I wanted to track would occupy a single square of the page. And when I accomplished such a task or a habit, I had to put a little dot, a pink dot, on the square for the day and for the task it had. The difficult thing about this kind of setup is to put all the tasks, the names of the tasks on top of the chart, because they have quite a few letters and they occupy a certain space, so it's kind of difficult. Anyway, this was the setup for the trackers I wanted to have this month, and now I am moving on to the weekly spreads. This weekly spread I got inspired from the one from March. If you haven't watched that, I'll leave the link here on the video. And I wanted to do something that looked cute and simple and also minimalistic. And I wanted to use my marker, the pink one, so I kind of did a double line and then put the names of the days and the dates into those two lines, so I could use the marker to paint over these. And of course, in order not to mess up my marker, I needed to get rid of all of the pencil marks. So I did that, and then on top of that, I added the marker. I personally think it looked very good, and because the marker is not thick enough to cover the whole space between the two lines, I actually had to go over it with the thinner end of the marker so it wouldn't overlap. Because when these markers overlap, they create a darker space, a darker color. Not so much with this color, but other colors that happens a lot, so that's something to avoid. Another thing I also did was to put the number of the week we are in. This is very helpful because it keeps track of how far away I am on this semester. My semester is actually going to pretty much end this month, and my last exam, I think it's either the I think it's the 3rd of July actually, so it ends at the beginning of July. So another thing I decided to do was to, instead of just starting from day 1 for this month, if we go back to the previous page, I actually started on Monday, which was the 27th of May. And I did that because it looked better than just to leave a empty space there. And I had a lot of going on in May, at the end of the May. So this last week, I had 2 exams. I had to hand in a work from college and stuff like that. So I just wanted to put everything in there. Okay, now I'm basically done with the setup. I'm just gonna quickly go through what we did. Remember that we'll have the art here, and on the other page probably a quote. Like I did for the month of April, like here. And I'll do that later because I don't have the time right now. This is the monthly overview. And this is the study tracker, which will probably be like the last one. I'll use this marker to put the hours I did, and probably will do a drawing there and on the bottom as well, maybe on the top as well. Next is my favorite page, which is this class tracker versus study tracker. And it's, again, I said it's only gonna be for the 2 subjects I'm taking, and that's because I did vibrations last month and I had a lot of space free now that I can use to draw or anything I want to put, like exercises or something. Next up is the mood tracker, which will be quite full at the end of the month, and I'll show how it's gonna look like after. And again, I have a little empty space that I can draw on if I want to. habit tracker and expense tracker, I'm gonna put, like I said before, a little dot on each square that represents an activity on a certain day. So here I'm just gonna go ahead and fill in the art habit because today I did some art. And for the expense tracker, I just put the date, description, type, card or money, and amount. Next up is the weekly overview, and I already put all the tasks I did this week and some tasks I need to do next week. And I have some empty space here that I'm probably gonna draw, and a blank space that I'm probably gonna put another quote like I did for the month of April, I think. Yeah, April. That's it. Now I'm gonna show you my drawing. So this is my little setup for today. I'm actually gonna use paint this month instead of my usual watercolor pencils because they are more vibrant and they are quicker to draw. I don't know why, but my camera didn't pick up the first minute or so that I was painting, but basically what I did was to grab some red and some black and mix it together and then paint the darkest red colors of the fish. After that, I grabbed a bit of light blue and started painting the parts of the fish that had this highlighted. Again, I'm using a reference picture to draw this because I think it's very important when you don't have a notion of where the colors go to have a reference so you can actually see where there are dark colors and where are the light colors and which colors go where. And now I'm just grabbing a little bit of green and painting another highlighted area that has green. And for this part, what I did was to put the light green first, and then I slowly got to the darker greens and then put it over the light one. This way you can build on the layers and actually makes it easier to control the shading while you paint. After that, I'm gonna do the same thing with the red. So I'm just grabbing a little bit of very light red and putting it all over the fish. This camera setup actually didn't catch the actual colors, so the red doesn't look very vibrant, but it is after you will be able to see it. And I also added some orange where the reference picture showed orange parts, which are probably an effect of the light because the fish is all red, but when the light hits the surface of the fish, it creates an orange color at some parts. After that, I grabbed a little bit of black and added a little bit more to the red, and then I started going over the red again with a darker color, again using the reference picture to see where the shades were. I was actually okay with the way it turned out, so I moved on to the body of the fish. And at first I was going to do layers separately, but then I thought it would be much quicker and it would make more sense to just paint everything red and then go over with the darker colors after. For this part, I had to recreate scales on the fish, which is not a very easy task, and I didn't want to spend a lot of time on that. So I grabbed a little bit of blue and just made some dots over the body of the fish. And after that, I grabbed the white and also put some dots over the body of the fish where the light hit the fish and the scales were bright. And this doesn't look very realistic, but that's okay, because that's not the vibe I'm going for. So after that, what I did was paint with a even darker red where the body was shown in a shadow part, and then after that I added a bit more of blue and white to the scales so it looked a little bit more bluish rather than red. I also painted the eyes and the rest of the face of the fish with black and darker red. I liked the way it turned out, but at the same time, because it didn't have a lot of details and I didn't put a lot of time into this painting, it didn't look very realistic, and there were some parts that was difficult to differentiate the body to the rest of the fish, so I preferred to go over it with the red pen. This way the fish uh, would be easier to understand, and I don't know, I think it looks better this way. Okay guys, so this is the finished product. It looks a little bit more vibrant than before because the camera is set properly now, but I think it looks so much better with the black pen than before. And overall, I really liked how it turned out, and I still messed up the amount of paint I used, so there was a lot of leftover, but usually I put much less than I did now. Anyway, this is how it turned out, and I really liked it, but I'm still going to do quote pages, probably two, that one and the one at the end. Just like I'm going to do it with the month of May because I didn't finish, and I'll be uploading a flick through for the month of May because I didn't film how I painted it and how I used it, because basically I didn't have time to do it last month and I was kind of lazy, so I didn't do, but I will upload a flick through it. That was it. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have any questions, just comment down below and I will answer them as quickly as I can. Hope you enjoyed this video and see you in the next one.